Welcome back, my friends, to Matters in Rome, the place where history, faith, and a little bit of laughter collide. If you're new here, don't just stand at the gates. Come inside. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and join our Roman family because, believe me, you do not want to miss the journeys we take here. Every week, we dive into stories that shake the pillars of faith, challenge the walls of culture, and sometimes make you spit out your espresso with laughter. So, go ahead. Subscribe now before the Swiss guards come marching to remind you. Now let's jump straight in because today's story is, well, let's just say it's like mixing papal incense with a Billboard chart topper. Yes, we are talking about none other than Taylor Swift, global superstar, lyrical genius, and, believe it or not, once upon a time, a young woman deeply shaped by her Catholic upbringing. That's right. Taylor Swift's story is not just about music, heartbreaks, and glittering stadium tours. It's also about faith. A Catholic faith that she carried, wrestled with, and eventually walked away from. And today, here on Matters in Rome, we're diving into that fascinating journey. Serious where it needs to be, witty where it deserves to be, and Roman all the way. So grab your rosaries, your concert tickets, maybe even your friendship bracelets, because we're about to explore how one of the biggest pop icons in the world once prayed the same prayers as millions of Catholics every Sunday, and what ultimately made her drift away from Rome's embrace. Now, let's set the scene. Taylor Allison Swift, born in Pennsylvania, raised in the American heartland, dreamed of music from a young age. But here's something less talked about. Her early years were steeped in Catholic life. That's right. Mass on Sundays. Catechism classes. A faith tradition that has raised saints, inspired empires, and also taught kids how to kneel for what feels like an eternity. Seriously, Catholics have stronger knees than Olympic athletes. Those pews are not forgiving. And in those days, Taylor, just like millions of Catholic kids, experienced the rituals, the beauty of liturgy, the incense, the stained glass windows telling stories in color, the hymns that stretched higher than even her vocal range. That was the foundation. It shaped her sense of morality, her idea of community, even her understanding of love and sacrifice. You might say Catholicism gave Taylor her first stage, albeit one with an altar instead of stadium lights. But here's where it gets interesting. Because while Catholicism provided roots, Taylor was already dreaming beyond them. Imagine little Taylor, writing songs in the margins of her notebooks, while at the same time memorizing the Hail Mary. A blend of secular creativity and sacred tradition. Two worlds on a collision course. And as her fame began to grow, that collision became impossible to ignore. Now, let's be clear. Leaving the Catholic Church is not uncommon in the modern world. Many young Catholics feel tension between the teachings of the Church and the culture they live in. And Taylor, she was not just in culture, she was shaping it. She was the culture. And that's where the cracks began to show. Take one of the big issues Taylor has always been outspoken about, individual freedom. Catholicism, beautiful as it is, comes with structure. Doctrine. A clear line of what is right and wrong. For many, that's comforting. It's like the guardrails of a winding road. But for someone like Taylor, whose whole art is about breaking rules, redefining love, pushing against expectations, those guardrails felt like a cage. Imagine being Taylor Swift, writing about falling in love, breaking up, rediscovering yourself, and then realizing some of those experiences don't line up neatly with what your catechism teacher once told you. Cue the tension. Cue the inner battle. Cue the quiet but steady drift from the pews. But it wasn't just personal lifestyle. No, Taylor's departure also had to do with what she saw happening in the world, and how she felt the Church responded. She's been very vocal about LGBTQ+ rights, women's rights, political issues. And when she looked at Catholic leadership, especially in America, she didn't always see alignment with what she believed was justice. For her, faith should amplify compassion, not limit it. And when she felt that wasn't happening, she decided to step outside. And this is where we have to pause. Because this story isn't about bashing Taylor for leaving the faith, or glorifying her for it. No. Here on Matters in Rome, we look deeper. What does her story tell us about the modern struggle between faith and culture? What does it reveal about the Catholic Church's hold, or lack thereof, on its younger members? And what does it mean when someone with a platform as massive as Taylor Swift decides to quietly walk away from the altar? Think about it. When Taylor Swift releases an album, millions of people listen. When she posts a tweet, it becomes global news. So her personal journey of leaving Catholicism isn't just about her. It sends ripples. It normalizes the idea of leaving for countless fans who may already be on the fence. And that, my friends, is power. Not papal power, not emperor power, but celebrity power. And in today's world, it might just be stronger. But let's not get too gloomy. Because Taylor hasn't abandoned spirituality altogether. Oh no. If you listen to her songs, you'll find traces of prayer, echoes of religious imagery, whispers of the faith she grew up with. From lyrics about redemption to metaphors about heaven and hell, her Catholic roots are still there, hiding in plain sight. She may have left the church, but the church hasn't quite left her. And isn't that the thing about Catholicism? You can try to walk away, but those holy water splashes stick to you like glitter. And here's the humorous twist. Taylor Swift, Queen of Reinvention, might just be one confession away from returning. Imagine it, Taylor walking into a confessional, whispering, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I wrote an album about all my exes." And the priest replying, "My child, that's not a sin, that's a Grammy." Jokes aside, her story is a perfect example of the modern Catholic struggle. We live in a world where fame, freedom, and individuality clash with centuries-old tradition. Some people find a way to hold both together. Others, like Taylor, choose one over the other. But whether you agree or disagree, you can't deny, it makes for one fascinating story. And here's a Roman truth: the Church is big. It survived emperors, reformations, world wars, and even bad organ players. So while Taylor may have left, the doors remain open. Always. That's Catholicism. The prodigal son, or daughter, can always return. Now, what can we learn from this? First, that faith and fame are not easy roommates. Second, that Catholicism continues to wrestle with modern culture in ways that touch not just bishops and theologians, but pop stars and teenagers alike. And third, most importantly, that stories like Taylor's invite us to reflect on our own journey. Why do we stay? Why do we leave? What does faith mean to us in a world that is moving faster than the pop top 40 charts? So maybe Taylor Swift is no longer Catholic in practice. But her life, her music, her choices, they're part of a much bigger conversation. A conversation about identity, belief, love, freedom, and the eternal tug-of-war between tradition and change. And that conversation, that's what we do here. That's why we exist. That's Matters in Rome. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about Taylor Swift. It's about all of us. We all have a bit of Taylor in us, the dreamer, the rule breaker, the one torn between belonging and becoming. And we all have a bit of Rome in us, the tradition, the heritage, the longing for something eternal. Put those together, and you have the drama of modern life. So the next time you hear a Taylor Swift song, don't just think about the ex-boyfriend it's about. Think about the Catholic girl from Pennsylvania who once prayed the rosary, who once knelt in Mass, who once belonged to a tradition as old as Rome itself. And then think about the journey, how she left, why she left, and what that says about the faith we all share, question, wrestle with, and sometimes even walk away from. That's it for today's deep dive. If you found yourself hooked, if you laughed, if you learned something, do me a favor, don't just scroll away. Subscribe to Matters in Rome, hit that bell, and let's keep this conversation going. Because here, we talk about the stories that matter. Serious, funny, and everything in between. Until next time, my friends, keep your faith steady, your humor alive, and your espresso strong. This is Matters in Rome, signing off.